Hey, we'd like to thank everybody that tuned in to the first video dealing with bad news. I appreciate your support, your encouragement, your comments, man. It really was a blessing to me, and I pray that that video really did bless you, and that you keep sharing it with your friends, your loved ones, your neighbors, whoever you want to, man. Feel free to use it as that's what it's intended for. What we're going to do here is kind of what we did the first time, right? Let's jump into Nehemiah 2. This is what Faith Baptist Fellowship Church we did back in February. So we're going to just kind of talk about that again and overview that. And I hope you can see some real life application as we just talk about Nehemiah just briefly here. Nehemiah 1, we talked about dealing with bad news, right? And how sometimes we struggle with that. Sometimes we don't go to the person who can fix it. That person being God. We try to handle it on our own. Nehemiah chapter 2 is awesome because you see Nehemiah working this situation out. Nehemiah chapter 1 and chapter 2, there's 4 months in between it. So for 4 months, Nehemiah struggles with this issue. For 4 months, he takes this devastating news, and we don't know what happens. We only see the fruit of his prayer. Now, let me ask you this. Doesn't that seem like a really long time to struggle with something? I mean, if you've been ever stressed out or if you've ever been really bogged and burdened down with something, once again, talking about that bad news, you know that 4 months is a really long time to have bad news, devastating news, to feel depressed. And this is what Nehemiah carried, and what we can probably conclude is that he probably prayed the entire time. He probably was dedicated to seeking God. You know, when we did this series in chapter 2, we broke it up a little bit, and I asked 3 questions. The first one was, do you seek him? The next one was, do you trust him? And the third one is, will you serve him? You know, I had to ask those 3 questions, and that's what we broke chapter 2 down for, because this first part is extremely important. In fact, it's so important, if you can't answer yes to it, don't even ask the other 2 questions. Don't even answer them. So, do you seek God? Will you seek him? You know, Nehemiah spent 4 months without an answer, 4 months without seeing something happen, but he was seeking God. You know, I'm not trying to put these videos out to make you super religious. I'm trying to make you aware of the state we're in. And what Nehemiah realized was that his situation was not going to change without divine intervention. But see, here's the thing. We often ask stuff for God, and then we act like we don't know him. Or we'll ask something for him, but really not live like it. Really don't trust him. That's why that second question has to be there. Do you trust him? See, when you ask, are you praying and asking God to work in your favor, work in your life, and then trust that he'll do it? See, in chapter 2, we see Nehemiah has the opportunity to go before the king he's working for and give this proposition that he wants to go to Jerusalem, that he knows he's called by God to do something. That's huge, okay? Because it's been 4 months before God has worked out the situation, and this journey is going to be another couple of months. He's going to be away from his job for that long. He's going to be doing something that he really doesn't know how it's going to play out. But he's seeking God on behalf of someone else. And he's trusting God. Let me ask you this question. When's the last time you said you've genuinely tried to trust God? Not what people are saying, not what people aren't saying even, because sometimes what we say or don't say can hurt us. But genuinely you said, I'm going to try to give God a shot. I'm going to open up my heart. I'm going to trust him and watch him work out in my circumstance. Well, that's what Nehemiah does here, as he trusts God, as he journeys to Jerusalem, journeys to see the devastation. And let me tell you this, when he gets to Jerusalem, he realizes 2 things. The problem was worse than what he thought, and there are enemies who don't want him to succeed. Now we're all familiar with enemies, right? I mean, we all have haters. We all have someone who doesn't like us and doesn't want us to get somewhere. Nehemiah had the same problem. In fact, it carries on. That's a theme in Nehemiah. People don't want him to succeed. So what does he do? Well, he has to come to that third question. He has to decide, is he going to serve God? See, he already was seeking him and sought him for a 4-month period and still is during this time. He already trusted him that he left his job, he left his responsibilities to take up something, a task that he had no clue about. He was learning the situation. Then when he gets there, he realizes this is worse than what he thought. It's going to be harder than what he imagined. And now he has to answer, but will he serve him in spite of all this? Let me ask you this tonight. Are you going to really sit back and say you're seeking God, you will trust him, and when you get to that point, when you realize this may be tougher than what you thought it would be, you're going to serve him? Now, I know those 3 questions are really weighted, and I know those 3 questions are pretty challenging, but this is exactly what we saw from Nehemiah. And he answered, yes, he will, to all 3 of those questions. I need you to answer that tonight. I need you to figure out if you can say, I will seek him, I will trust him, And when he gives me something to do, absolutely I will serve him. That's a challenge that we gave to the members and the visitors at Faith Baptist Fellowship Church that Sunday. And it's a challenge I am constantly reminded of in my own everyday life, that I have to continue to seek God, trust him, and serve him. Once again, I appreciate you joining me as we send these videos out and really give you a synopsis of what we've been doing in Nehemiah. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, hey, feel free to contact me. Even if you want to see a video, by the way, feel free to contact me and we'll do something special. Hey, I thank God for your time here and pray that this message blesses you as it blessed us.